The first question is, what's the most memorable times I feel loved by mom and dad? Actually, as I think about that, upon my entire life up to today, my mom and dad gave me that kind of, we call love. I never reflect what's the most moment in my life, but it's a sense of, it's a thought and it's a feeling that you don't need to think about that, but it's safe, it's mom and dad, and you don't need to struggle about if you're loved or not loved. I'm a very much loved daughter, I have to say. And I'm not looking for anyone in this world to fulfill any gap of this feeling of love. So I believe all those sense of security, sense of confidence, sense of love for mom and dad is very fulfilling inside me. But if you want to give me, in our family, we don't have that kind of words coming out, say, oh, I love you, or I give you a hug, or we don't have that. It's not in our family. But I do as I grow up. When I was a little, some small gestures, I think there must be love, but it just so, I remember when I was going to take finals exam, and the exam when I was 10 years old to go to middle school. Now it's nine and a half or 10 way at that age. And I did not know how difficult the test is going to be, but Grandpa knows because he's in the education department, and this is an experimental class coming out. The test is going to be equivalent to some whatever 6 or 7 years of education, and we just finished five, and I was particularly young that time. So I remember the morning when I was going to take the test. Actually, it's pretty early, and Dad was a little bit pacing around actually we have a courtyard by the gate of our house. He was pacing around under a grape trellis waiting for me to go. And I come out eating my breakfast very slow and everything. I come out and I laugh and say, okay, now you guys just wait for me to come back with a victory. And I did not know. And I walked out and Dad was very happy. I remember the moment he was pacing around. And I don't know, is that love or is something, I don't know, but somehow he was very happy with me, and I was very happy with the moment. And as I grew up later on, 14 years old, I was supposed to go to countryside, and there was a slogan of a revolution. So we were supposed to go as a street clean, the kind of proletarian regards, going to be re-educated by the peasants. Prior to that, because we have 3 years no school, I cultivated a little garden for myself. Your dad too. Your dad raised cats, raised pigeons, these 20-some pigeons all around the house. It was a tough time that time. Tough time in ways of people normally don't have sufficient food to eat. But this is a side issue. Dad was able to go through his friends to buy the kind of rice grains with a shelf on, just to feed those pigeons, the dough. And because he knows this is the one little hobby of your dad, he was probably the 12 or 13 years old. And I cultivated this little garden. But it has cacti, has roses, has all kinds of beautiful flowers, small corner of the yard. So by the time I was going to the countryside, I was looking at them. I don't know what to do. And Dad saw it. He saw I did not want to let go with that. So he packed every little tiny pot packed it carefully and put it in a wicker basket and let me take it all to the countryside. And I think he did that knowing I'm going to face tough time for a child, to face a tough time. There's not really much for him to make it better for me, but, try to let me keep what I like to do, even though he may have to face some particular sense of maintaining a certain lifestyle even in the tough times. And I think there's a kind of refinement and cultivation mom and dad, knowing or not knowingly, instill in my head, in my mind, that they helped me go through a long way in a tough time. The moment, I cannot say this is the most memorable moment I feel love, but it's one of the moments I remember very clearly. At the time when I was in the countryside and I tried to learn some skills, by medical skill, we call the barefoot doctor. And this one time I came back to the city and my mom say, Grandma say, we have a arrangement with the hospital here that in the afternoon she's going to take students to learn acupuncture. And if I'm interested, I can certainly go with them. So of course I jump on the boat. I went with them. After the school class is over, and I'll become the only one remain on this clinical office, even though after the whole programs is over. And that clinical actually is turned out to be only one doctor about close to 30 years old, bachelor, and then the old nurse together, and then me, three of us. And I think I end up working there for learning, and actually is working for 3 months. And during these 3 months, this doctor told me that he has a patient in one of the very, very remote, and the time that there's always had this kind of political spirit to carry medicine down to the deep remote area. And then he said he's going to visit the patient. And I remember the patient has polio. Going through that, he has advised to cut through the tendon of both feet and then extend it with some sort of a stick from willow tree. And after that was not that successful. It was a girl about 8 years old, and he started acupuncture treatment for her. And he told me that, he was going to go see her and invite me to go. Well, he was a bachelor, and he was looking for some girl, apparently. And I was basically, I wanted to go. But I wanted to go. And that, given the scenario, he was very concerned about my safety. Going on a bicycle, travel, 20, 30 miles into village, coming back with him. And then for him, I think it appeared to be, it was just a setup to have some seduction or romantic build up, this sort of thing. And now upon thinking about that, maybe that was really this doctor was thinking of. But I wanted to go, and I had a little bit discussion, with mom and dad did not look so happy that I was going. But I went anyway. We rode a bike there all day and come back just about twilight in the city. And two of us riding the bike, and I passed a place called Meirengong. That's where the first intersection where the traffic coming from the village, coming from the outside city, just get into the outskirts of the city. But actually there's the outest rim that people from city could possibly go. And there was a first police traffic stop. Then I turned it over, I glimpsed over, I saw Dad standing there in the dark, just waiting. And that's quite a long walk for him to be there from home. Oh, now when I think about that, I feel tearful. I remember Grandpa just put his hands on my shoulder, and then because he walked there, so we have to push the bicycle home. We didn't talk much. But I know he was very worried. So I showed him only at the time that actually I hid a knife in my bag. So I showed him it's a kitchen knife, very sharp, long knife in my bag. And I showed it to him. I remember Grandpa was laugh, and he asked me if I ever showed it to the doctor. I said, no, of course. And then he was so happy, so relieved. He told my mom, he's wondering if I dare to use the knife, But this whole episode I remember the moment when he's standing in the dark and waiting. It's more of a love that's more just, unspoken about everything, about your safety, about your well-being, about everything. So it's more than just one word, I love you, or something, So there are a lot of small moments like that in my life. So I just want to share that with you first. That's it for today.